and just a few. Before we get going, I just want to remind our media members to silence your phones. And if you are asking a question to our student athletes or a coach, that you just provide your name and your media affiliation before each question. And then for those individuals online via Zoom, you can also ask questions. Just use the hand feature, and we'll get to you. Finally, recording the press conference on cell phones or cameras is prohibited. Thank you. At this time, out of the Mountain West Conference, we're really excited to welcome San Diego State Aztecs, 21-9, 14-6 in the NWC, and they'll be playing game number 2 tomorrow night, 9-10 against North Carolina. Jared Coleman-Jones, senior, joining us. In the middle, Nick Boyd, all defensive team, second team all conference, and Miles Bird on the end, second team all conference in the Mountain West. Jared, if you could, just talk about your excitement in seeing your name called last night.
So it's my first time being to the dance, so it's a lot of excitement, to be with this group. It's a young group, but forming a bond with them, that's like, it's unbreakable. So it's like for this to be the first time going with them, it's just great. So.
And Nick, same question for you.
Yeah, like you said, just, it was exciting to see our name getting called. A lot of people didn't think we'd be in this position right here, so we're not taking it for granted, and we're ready to get out, have some fun, and make some noise.
And finally, Miles.
I'd say it was a lot more nerve-wracking this year. Past 2 years we were able to come in the tournament as a 5 seed, so a little bit more uncertain this time around. But we're all grateful to be in this position, and we know how happy a lot of college basketball players would be to be here right now.
Let's open up the floor for questions. Raise your hand if you have one, and we'll get you a microphone. Let's go to the second row on the end.
John Schaefer, San Diego Sports 760. Just curious, Jared, when you made the decision to join San Diego State, I'm sure you envisioned or hoped to reach the NCAA tournament. How gratifying is that, half a year or a year later?
Super gratifying. I mean, it's a dream come true, but there's a lot of work to be done. So, while I was super excited, I know that there's a different type of approach we're gonna have to take in postseason. So.
One for Nick, when you think about the last couple of years for you having the opportunity to play in the NCAA tournament, but to join an entirely new team, and then you look at the overall youth on this team, what was it like to get to this point in your first year at San Diego State?
Man, it was important to me. Like that's why I came here to win. Obviously, like you said, we have a young team, but it just shows our character as a team. Just a bunch of guys who have grit, have fight, and we're gonna have to take them characteristics to the game tomorrow. So, like Jerry said, gratifying, but we got to do more work.
And then finally, for Miles, I have here in the notes from a year ago, just 8% of scoring back from last year's team, and to get all the way to the NCAA tournament. What does it say about San Diego State's program?
Just a standard we have at San Diego State. Lost a lot of guys the year before last year. Lost a lot of guys last year. So for us to be able to come back here 3 years in a row after a lot of new teams and a lot of new faces on the teams, it just shows the work that Coach Dutch and our assistants do to get us ready for this point.
Other questions for our student athletes? Let's go to the second row on the near side.
Hi, Paul Chu, Media, University of Dayton. So you guys have a great resume coming into the tournament at the first four. However, only playing UNC twice in the men's basketball history. So with that being said, how is this team preparing to face a legacy team like the Tar Heels?
Miles?
I think I just seen somewhere that we're 0-2 all time against UNC, and the last time I think we played was 1990. So a lot of different identities. They've had a new coach in there since the last time we played. Obviously, we have a whole new team. But I think it's just us prepping for any other basketball game. They're a really talented team, a really good group, but I think so are we, and it's just about how we prepare coming into the game tomorrow.
Nick, you want to take a stab at that question pertaining to the matchup tomorrow night against UNC?
I just think it's a mindset. I don't even feel like yesterday we got our name called, so we didn't have much time to prepare. But it just comes down to a mindset. What your mind gonna be like out there, and at the end of the day, whoever has the mental strength as well as the physical strength to just keep going throughout the game, the highs and lows, gonna be on top.
Jared?
For me, I just think. And to agree with them, it's just a mindset. Going out there, preparing, watching film. Getting a lot of mental reps before this game. I think that we're a very talented team, and we can take on whatever anybody throws at us. So just preparing for it and being ready for the challenge.
Let's go back to the second row.
All right, John Schaefer again, San Diego Sports 760. For Miles and Nick, having gone through tournament games previously, what's it like in that first game in a new tournament in terms of just being prepared and ready for what it takes to get through that initial game?
Miles?
I think, with us, it's just setting the tone. Be the first one to hit on every shot, lock in defensively like we always do. And just play freely. Coach Dutch always says that players make plays in March. So, a lot of it's going to come down to us in the end of the game. Sets can only get us so far. And at the end of the day, we just need to be ready to play a competitive game versus a really good team.
Nick?
Like you said, just players make plays. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of these tournament games, you play a team that you're, so unfamiliar with. So it's kind of hard to really prep and kind of be ready in terms of X's and O's standpoint. But I just think it comes down to your mindset. Like you said, hitting on the first shot, just setting the tone, and if you do that, you give yourself a chance to start a run.
For those that are online, just a reminder, you can ask a question to our student athletes and using the hand feature on Zoom. Other questions? We'll go across the aisle.
Paul Chu again, University of Dayton. So for Nick, this is your first year, like as mentioned, as an Aztec for San Diego State. How are you feeling coming into the first four initially?
I'm feeling blessed. I'm excited to be here. I feel like last year with my team, obviously, we had a great team, but we kind of took these moments for granted. So that was just ultimately when I was thinking before the selection show yesterday, just whatever it is, whatever happens, can't take none of these moments for granted because it's very hard to get in these seats right here. And have an opportunity to play on the biggest stage. So I'm feeling blessed, and I'm just excited and happy that I could go out there, play with these guys again, get another shot at that, and then ultimately just play for my family.
Let's go in the back of the room, last row.
Don Nelson from Ohio University. With a young team like you guys have, how do you handle the highs and lows throughout the season?
And we'll start with Jared.
I think it's one thing. It's like you can never get too high or too low. It's like it's all about a mindset and just having, the will to push through. When you have a great game, learning and learning what you can do better from a great game and learning what you can do better from a bad game. So it's all about just staying even keeled and really focusing on what you can be better at and growing through everything.
Nick?
Man, I keep saying the same thing, but I think it's just like your everyday approach. Like whether you win or you lose, how you gonna come into practice the next day? Like you gonna come in there ready to bust your butt, or you gonna take a day off? And I think this group, like we do a good job of competing and just having fight. And I think we've been through some highs and lows throughout the season. Obviously, beat one of the best teams in the country and then lost a couple at home too. So we've seen both sides of it, but just our ability to come back the next day and fight in practice gave us this opportunity right here.
Finally, Miles.
Yeah, no, I agree with Nick. I think we can kind of have a mindset at San Diego State. It's win, lose, draw, we still work. So, we've lost some games that we feel like as a group we shouldn't have lost. But I never think that kind of takes our intent away from practice the next day or whenever our next practice is. I think every single time we get the group inside the gym, which is our practice facility, we're in there ready to get better and, take steps further as a group. And I think that helps us out as the year goes on.
Nick, you mentioned beating, one of the best in the country. When San Diego State's at its best, what's that look like in the Aztecs and in your way of going about wins?
Man, I could go down the line. I think playing with swagger ultimately, like our defense is something that's a given. Like we're gonna come every night and guard for 40 minutes, but when we're on that offensive end, just being ourselves, Miles Bird hitting a step-back three or Jared making a good pass or getting a dunk, Goon blocking shots on the other end, B.J. Davis picking up the best guards in the country full court. And then we got guys with the bench, our two freshmen who come in and handle business. That's when we're at our best, when we're playing with joy and we have that swag about us and that edge.
Jared, you mentioned this is your first trip to the dance. Growing up, and then also just watching March Madness, do you have a favorite tournament moment?
Not gonna lie, Villanova, the buzzer beater, that was like amazing to me. I used to fantasize about hitting a buzzer beater for a championship game, just like being in a flow state, being prepared enough to knock that shot down. Like it's a crazy feeling. I'm trying to get there right now. It's my first time, so we're going to see what it do.
Make it a memory tomorrow night. I'll ask the same question to Nick.
Yeah.
Your favorite March Madness moment?
Sheesh. I'll probably just have to say, man, it's kind of hard, but I say obviously going to the Final Four was exciting. Dream come true. And then obviously having a buzzer beater in the first round against Memphis at the last couple seconds. I don't know if it was a buzzer beater, but last 1 second. So yeah, that's probably my two right there.
Miles?
I think probably the Final Four game winning. I was on the team. It was happened to be against Nick's team, but I think that was one of my favorite sports memories I've been a part of. That and Villanova. Obviously, my dad went to Villanova, played at Villanova, so he was at that game. I remember watching on TV, and that was a pretty magical moment as well.
Let's go back to the second row on the end.
John Schaefer against San Diego Sports 760. I probably asked you each this in the preseason, but how surreal is it now for Miles and Nick specifically, having been on the floor at the same time, in the Final Four in Houston, to now be teammates in an NCAA tournament together? I know you envisioned this when you got together 6 or 8 months ago. How surreal is it now that you're both here together?
I think it's just the everyday work. I think we've seen this, play and unfold for the past however long. I think on his visit, I was one of his hosts, and we talked about stuff like that. So, we've both seen it before, and we're both trying to reach that big stage again. Once you get there, you kind of crave that feeling again. So I would definitely feel like we both got that hunger to get back there.
Yeah, like he said, it is surreal though, because I never thought I'd probably be in this position right now, especially playing a team that knocked us off in such a harsh way. But Yeah, it's just surreal, man. I'm just proud. Like, I'm really proud of this team. Like, and that's all I could really think about. Just even yesterday, like, man, I just want this moment. Like, when we lost against Boise in Las Vegas, I was just upset because I just wanted this moment right here for this team because I know, what type of bonds it creates and what it could do for guys forever. So it's surreal, and it was just funny that it all worked out this way, and I'm just grateful and blessed.
Let's go to the third row on the far end.
Patrick Sableski from the University of Dayton. Obviously, you guys traveled here on short notice, a long distance. Does that affect the way you prepare and approach this game at all?
Miles?
No, I don't think so. I think, we're a really youthful group who's got a good mentality about it. I couldn't remember there was a game early in the year where we were supposed to play Cal, and we were supposed to fly out the day before the game, and, the flight gets delayed, then it gets canceled, and we drive up to L.A. to try to fly to L.A. that night, and it didn't work. And we ended up flying in maybe 2 or 3 hours before the game started, and, we ended up going and playing one of our better games of the season. So I wouldn't say adversity is going to make us play better instantly, but, I think, our team does a good job around rallying around each other for moments like this.
Nick?
Yeah, like you said, I think the same. I think it kind of helps us in a sense. Like you said, we're youthful. Like sometimes scouting reports could be a lot for a bunch of guys who, it's a big moment. We're in March Madness, and when you kind of simplify it in the fact where we just got to go out there and play, sometimes it works out in our favor. And I think that's something I'm looking forward to.
And Jared?
Yeah, I mean, like they said, it's about like just locking in and watching the scout and watching the players, whatever it's called. But yeah, we were on the plane and we were all just watching the scout, and we were watching the sets and just like refreshing our minds. And I think that just locking in and having been through that adversity before, flying out and getting stuck in airports and not being able to fly the day before, I just feel like it's prepared us for this moment, so we'll be good.
Got a few more minutes here with our student athletes. Other questions? Go back to the third row. Let's go in the middle there.
Ryan Mulcahy, University of Dayton. You touched on this a little bit earlier, but what do you guys think the identity of this team is, and how's that going to end up contributing to success in the tournament?
Jared?
I think our identity is in our defense and our effort. I think that if we play we play really good defense and we play with effort and we play with swagger, I think that everything else is going to handle itself, honestly.
Yeah, like he said, just I want to be the hardest playing team in this tournament, and if we do that, I think we'll like where we'll be at, and we'll have a chance to beat a good UNC team tomorrow night.
Yeah, no, that's just all the time. If we get defense and defensive rebound, I think it gives us a pretty good chance against any team in the country. And like Nick and Jared both said earlier, that when we bring the swag and that freedom and confidence to the game that we can and we're capable of doing, I think it gives us a good chance against anybody.
San Diego State's obviously had a lot of success looking over the last few years, and so has the Mountain West. Boise State gets left out this year, but they were here a year ago in the first four. Miles, how tough is the Mountain West Conference?
Yeah, I don't think people on the East Coast really understand what the Mountain West is really about. Like, I think every game you got to go in there and it's going to be a grind. There's a lot of physical teams in the Mountain West. A lot of them whose identities, kind of revolve around rebounding, like Boise State. And, one of the biggest things that people don't take into account is the altitude that you play in. Most of the away teams have altitude at their gym. So, as a team from sea level, you're going out to Utah State to play in the mountains, and then you're going to Colorado State to play in the mountains. Like, that has a little bit more effect as well. So I don't think they I don't know how they take into account the committee or whatever, but I think that's one of the things that gets left untouched or untalked about.
And I'll ask the same question to you, Jared, and this being your first year in the Mountain West.
Like Miles said, it's very physical. People just really identify with rebounding. I mean, the coach has been preaching that to us all year. It's defensive rebounding, offensive rebounding, establishing ourselves in the paint. To touch on altitude, I think, it's a big thing. I remember going to, I know Wyoming is pretty high, but, Air Force is the one that affected me the most. I think the gym was super cold and it's connected to like a ice rink or something like that. But it was the air was thin, it was cold. We have to mentally lock in for every game, and it's a grind. Like it's a long, rough season, and you have to really take care of your body and be prepared for the next game. So.
Well, amongst the long season, it continues for you guys, and we are so excited to watch you tomorrow night, and we wish you the best of luck against North Carolina.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can take the cup. Yeah, that's yours, man.
Told them don't fall on the way off the stage. We can't lose anybody this close to the game.
At this time, we were really excited to welcome the head coach of the Aztecs, and Brian Dutcher in his 8th season. Coach, before we open up the floor for questions, just a statement of this team and what they've been able to do this year and making it here to March Madness in the NCAA Tournament.
Just excited to be here. We lost 90% of our scoring, 90% of our minutes from a year ago. So basically a new team found its way through a hectic season, and we're playing in March, and that's a great accomplishment. So we're proud of our efforts. We're proud of the way we finished the season, and we're proud to be here in Dayton representing San Diego State University.
All right, questions for Coach. Let's go to the second row on the end.
All right, John Schaefer, San Diego Sports 760. Dutch, what type of challenge is it hearing your name called Sunday, traveling and playing Tuesday, knowing that this is part of the tournament setting? Sometimes you play with one-day prep after winning a game, or in a conference tournament, you can play multiple games in multiple days. So what kind of experience and turnaround is this for you?
I've been coming to this event for a long time, and this is something brand new. I mean, I've been to 4 national championship games, 3 at Michigan as an assistant, once as the head coach at San Diego State, but I've never been in the first 4. So this is a new experience. It's rapid. Coaches are overthinkers anyway, so we always complain and worry we don't have enough time to get ready. But at the end of the day, March is for players. So our guys will be ready. We'll give them a game plan tomorrow morning, and then we'll play tomorrow night. So we didn't get a chance to practice. We didn't have our flight confirmed, I think, until like 9:30 last night. Met at the arena at 8:15, flew out at 9, had to come to the public practice. And so they watched a little tape on the plane. We sat down after a quick meal at the hotel and watched individuals. So we're just in the infancy of a game plan. So tomorrow morning we'll be critical, concentrating. And that's why these conference tournaments are always so good, because you play 3 games in 3 days, or so you're used to quick prep. So we will quick prep and be ready to play tomorrow night.
Other questions for Coach? Let's go to the second row across the aisle here.
Caleb Zaffe at University of Dayton. Players before you mentioned about defensive and offensive rebounding and defensive rebounding. How do you ensure that the defensive strategies, for North Carolina?
Well, we've gotten beat because we can't rebound the ball. That's why Boise beat us. I think they shot 33% from the field and 27% from 3 and got a victory because we couldn't rebound the ball. So that's been an Achilles heel all year. So we concentrate on it. We talk about it. Now we have to do it if we want to win at the highest level. So obviously North Carolina presents a lot of problems. They're fast. They run. They put a lot of points on the board. And we have to find a way to make it a lower scoring game. It can't be up in the 80s and 90s. We have to play in the 70s if we have a chance to win.
Second row.
John Schaefer again, San Diego Sports 760. Dutch, how have you adapted without Magoon Gwath over these last 6 games, and what are you hoping for his impact to be in the game tomorrow night?
Well, I became a worse coach without Magoon, so hopefully I'll be a good coach again. Magoon is our freshman big. He was freshman of the year in the Mountain West Conference, defensive player of the year in the Mountain West Conference, and he's been out of action since February 22nd, I believe. So basically 6 games. He got hurt 2 minutes into the Utah State game. So now we practiced full yesterday, limited reps, but full go. And so our intention is to have him on the court tomorrow and see what kind of difference he'll make for the Aztecs.
Coach, your players were up here. They were talking about the Mountain West Conference, and one thing I thought was interesting was elevation. For you, you have highlighted this being around basketball for a long time. I guess one, elevation and the significance of that point in the league, but then also just the toughness of your league and what we've seen here in the last decade.
Yeah, playing at altitude is very difficult. And our biggest jump as a program is when we got rid of travel partners, because we'd have to spend 3 or 4 days at altitude to play that second game. And now if we play at altitude, we try to get out the next day, get home, and before we go back and play another game at altitude. So it usually takes 24 to 36 hours. You have the best chance to play. If you stay beyond that, it takes 2 weeks to acclimate. So you look at your team sometimes and you say, why are we running a quick sign? Why are we a half step slow to everything? And it's usually the altitude. A half step slow will get you beat. So, and the other teams know that. New Mexico, Air Force, Wyoming, they all post in the locker room the signs of altitude sickness. So they use it as a psychological tool. So I don't think anyone else in the country is dealing with that other than us and the people that play in the Mountain West. But we're playing at 7,000 feet, and it makes a difference. So we've been tough enough to endure it, to find ways to win in those hard environments against good teams too. I'm not saying the only reason we get beat is altitude. They've got good teams, and they're playing at altitude. And so that makes it doubly tough sometimes in the Mountain West. I don't think it's people around the nation really appreciate what that's like.
Other questions for Coach? Let's go back to the second row.
Dutch, in the short period of time you've had since you found out it's North Carolina, when you turn on the film, when you see the job Hubert Davis has done, I mean, obviously they were in a national championship game the year before you were in a national championship game. R.J. Davis was on that team. He's still here in 2025. What do you see from North Carolina that sticks out on film?
They're talented. They're fast. They can score the basketball at an elite level. And I looked at their schedule, and I thought we played a tough schedule. But you look at who they played, it's Auburn, Alabama, Florida, Michigan State, Duke 3 times. You're talking about all the number 1 and 2 seeds in the tournament. And so, yeah, they would have liked to win some of those games, but those are really good teams. So Coach Davis has done a great job holding them together through some tough losses, and they're playing their best basketball, which you want to do. That's a sign of a really good coach when your team plays its best basketball in March. And I think North Carolina is playing its best basketball in March.
Let's go to the third row in the back corner.
Patrick Sableski, University of Dayton. You mentioned earlier the loss to Boise State in the conference tournament. How do you rebound from a loss like that to get ready for a win-or-go-home game?
Yeah, that was tough. I mean, I think it was 17 years since we haven't got out of the quarterfinal game. And I've been the head coach 8 years and played in the championship game 7 times. So we're used to winning in the Mountain West tournament, and that didn't happen. Boise's got a good team. Obviously, they played differently against us in order to win. They took 43s. I think that's a high for the year. And they got a lot of the misses. So we went back. We emphasized rebounding again is the thing we have to do at an elite level if we want to win, because we do guard hard. We're pretty efficient offensively. We're playing better down the stretch offensively. And we have to rebound the ball if we want to be really good in March.
A follow-up to that question, Coach, looking back to the Mountain West Conference tournament, did you have an idea in your head to where it was kind of a win and in situation, and then where you sort of fell last night and seeing your name called and being on the bubble?
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, we try to take care of all the things we can when we schedule. We played the 7th toughest non-conference schedule in the country this year because we know that's important to the committee. And even with that being said, with wins over Houston and Creighton, and then our crosstown team, UCSD, who won both regular season conference tournament in the Big West, we were one of the last 2 teams in. So we have to continue to study what the committee's looking at and schedule appropriately. We want to play the toughest schedule we can play. But sometimes that's hard. The better we are, the less teams want to play us. So the NIL event worked out great for us in Vegas. It gave us 3 really good games. Obviously, we have losses this year to Gonzaga and Oregon. So we continue to try to schedule up to put ourselves in a position where we can play in March based on what we do in the non-conference and trying to have a good Mountain West record.
Other questions for Coach? Let's go back to the second row.
We could have done this in San Diego, John.
We could. You want to do it next time?
No,
we'll do
we're
this in
fine.
San- I'd rather do it here in Dayton, Doug.
Okay.
John Schaefer against San Diego Sports 760. You touched on it, but when you consider what you've overcome to get here, when Reese Waters goes down, I mean, you can't prepare for this. You're weeks in front of your season. You lose a veteran, pivotal piece from a team that last year's in the Sweet 16. You lose Magoon Guath. You've played 6 underclassmen in eligibility all year long. What does it say about this group that they've reached this point with an opportunity to do more?
That they're gritty, they're tough, they have something about them. That I mean, we went on more scoring runs this year than I've ever seen in my career. Down 18, 19 points and go on a 17-0 run, 20-0 run, 18-0 run, all in one season. So they've got a toughness about them when things aren't going right, that they don't give in, that they find a way to continue to fight for 40, and that's allowed us to have some success. That they're young, they make young mistakes, but it's not a lack of effort, it's not a lack of fight, and that's what's allowed us to be sitting here today.
And a follow-up question to that, has there been something that's surprised you about this group?
Well, sometimes I say it's like coaching, and sometimes it's like babysitting. So when it's coaching, we're better. When I'm babysitting, it's harder. So they're young, but they're getting better. You know, they're getting better. And so hopefully in the NIL era, I can return this team next year. I've got a lot of really good players that are supposed to come back next year, and we'll grow from this year, try to make a run this year, and then be better next year.
Let's go to the second row.
Will Martin, University of Dayton Media. How do you make sure the players are mentally prepared, knowing one loss could end the season?
Yeah, that's the beauty of this year. You know, it's the ending is so sudden. No matter how much you know it's one and done, when you go in the locker room and the season's over, it's devastating. Whether it's losing to Connecticut 2 years ago in the championship game or losing to Connecticut last year in the Sweet 16. I mean, over the last 2 years, we're 7 in UConn. We ran into them twice, and they're the national champs. So hopefully we can continue that run and find UConn in the bracket somewhere down the road and get our revenge. But it's hard. It's hard. Winning in March is hard. And I remember my first head coaching NCAA victory. Everybody was so happy for me, and I was more happy for the kids. So I've never been like that. So I just like those moments where you can see them celebrate, when you can see them see their name come up on the TV, and then to be there for them when things don't go right, when you lose a game you don't feel you should have. So that's all part of coaching, and it's all part of the journey we're all on together.
Amongst the experience, Coach, in this time of the year and being able to advance, you've had a lot part of it. What is sort of the biggest takeaway in sort of telling your group, especially like this young group, of sort of what to be ready and prepared for?
It's just play with swagger. Don't be afraid. I don't want to lose with a scared team. So that might open it up for some mistakes, some wild shots. They might interpret that as being crazy, but you can't win being scared. So we'll go out there, and I'll live with some shots they take as long as we're competing at a high level, defending the way I know we can. And I'll live with a shot or two that people may be watching from the stands or the sidelines saying, what is he doing? But I want them confident. You can't win in March unless you're confident, and I want a confident group out there tomorrow night.
Other questions for Coach? Oh, back row.
Coach Don Nelson from Ohio University. Conditioning-wise, and that plays a big part, how deep do you go on your bench during this time of year?
We've been going 9 or 10 deep all year. With Magoon, we go 10 deep, and we'll go 10 deep tomorrow. You know, the way we play defense, what we ask them to do, you know, you can't play that way for 40 if you're on the floor the whole time. So we try to pick the ball up, try to pressure, try to compete at a high level. And so we've been deep all year, and we'll continue to play deep tomorrow.
Talking about Magoon's status and looking ahead towards tomorrow, just what you've seen from him here in an incredible freshman year, did you expect his impact and what he's been able to do and immediately stepping on the stage at the college game?
Yeah, we redshirted Magoon last year, so we knew kind of what we had. And I think Magoon's potentially an NBA player. So to do that as a freshman is hard to do. But he's gotten better as the season's gone on. And until he got hurt, arguably he was playing the best basketball of his career the last 8 games. Smart, staying out of foul trouble, blocking shots, scoring from every level. 3 in the post, off the dribble. So we'll see how he does. He's missed a lot of basketballs. Just to throw him out there and expect he's going to be perfect is hard to do, but we're not going to win in March unless he's really good. So that's why we wanted to make sure, first and foremost, he was healthy, and now we got to hope that he can catch up timing-wise to the game as it goes, having not played for 3 weeks.
Third row, towards the back.
Patrick Sabusky, University of Dayton. You've had a lot of success playing at home. You won 12 games this year, 14 last year. What is it about San Diego State that makes you have so much success on your home floor?
It's a lot like the Dayton environment. We have great home crowds. We're sold out on the season. We have a great student section. And when we're not playing well, the crowd gets behind us. They don't get on us, and they motivate us to play harder. And they're a huge difference in our success. And the Mountain West has some great home court environments. Utah State is incredible. The Pit in New Mexico is incredible. Colorado State sold out. Boise, we play in some of the best environments in the country. And every coach feels his conference is the hardest to play in because it's the one he's in. But the Mountain West has got great fan bases that really support their teams, and it's a challenge to win games in our conference.
Other questions for Coach? Well, Coach, thank you so much for giving us a few minutes. Best of luck tomorrow night.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Just a reminder, this will be available online at ncaa.veritone.com, as Hammond Communications will post the recording in the NCAA Digital Media Hub, and then transcripts will be provided here shortly. They should be here 7:20. Yeah. I haven't been told otherwise that they're not in the building. No. Should be 7:20.